Hello, welcome to Fibertown, episode 150, which is rather a big milestone, I do believe. Hi, how is everyone? I'm doing well. I'm Emily, if you're brand new, and Miss Fibertown, if you're nasty. I don't know where that came from, sorry. Janet Jackson childhood, anyone? This is off to a very auspicious start. Let's start over, sort of. Welcome. You can find me on my blog at fibertown.blogspot.com and on iTunes and YouTube and Ravelry at the Fiberspace Town podcast group. Boom, there it is. So I'm well. It is a Wednesday afternoon. It's the 20th of April, 2016, and I have just written some show notes, and I just realized I forgot to grab something to show you all. I think it's it's one of my FOs, so I will have to go and get that. But first, let's talk about some things. Okay, this month, April, is the Nature Along in the podcast group, and so the word of the month is nature. Interpret it as you will in your crafting. The prize is the Coffee with CC ebook, which I neglected to mention these past weeks. That would be the prize. But lucky you guys, because it's a really great book. Lots of podcasts have reviewed it. Cece generously donated one to give away. So I'm going to use it this month. There are, I think there are 6 sock patterns, and they're all written both top down and toe up. So that is a ton of work if you are a pattern maker. And there is an amazing shawl, a really beautiful multicolored shawl, and the socks are also gorgeous. They're, ranked from easiest to hardest, and there are some very simple ones and some very intricate ones, and they're all equally beautiful. So yeah, enter your Nature Along items in the Ravelry group, and you'll be entered to win. Chatter is eligible. Alice, my co-host, is outside sunning herself. She might make an appearance later. So, yeah. I want to say a big thank you to Quilter Caroline, who is a good friend of the podcast. She is also a pattern designer. She sent me this gorgeous shawl, Seeds of Change, by Clotheslines Designs. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? I think that would look stunning in a farm yarn. It's a garter stitch. It looks like a bias. Garter stitch done on the bias with maybe an applied lace border, but simple. She uses West Yorkshire Spinner's signature 4-ply, so a fingering yarn. She is, she's got quite a few designs. I really wasn't aware that she was a designer, so I'm really glad you sent this, and I will have to check out the rest. It's a really great price, too. It's $250 Great British pounds, and that's about $3.69. So gorgeous shawl. Check it out if that looks like something you'd like to do. All right, so today I have an FO. I'm going to have to show you a picture of it. I'm not going to get up. I have lots of sewing to talk about. I have some works in progress knitting-wise. I have spinning, and I'm just going to kind of ramble on a bit because I went quite succinctly and quickly on my last podcast, and I realized after there was a ton I left out. I got in the main points, but I want to chatter on today a little bit, so I hope you're up for that. You've seen Fiber West, right, when my friend Sarah comes on the podcast? She scored a Jenny the Potter mug, and she scored 2, and she sold me 1. I love it. I'm having a latte. Foamy. So yes, here we go. I have an embroidery. I don't know if you could call it embroidery. It's horrible, but funny at the same time. It is an FO of mine. I was inspired to make it after watching Inside Out for the second time. Inside Out is a kid's movie about how your brain works in terms of emotions and memory and behavioral changes, and it's a wonderful movie. Let's see. And there was a scene that inspired me to embroider that. The floor is lava. So I wrote on some muslin with a Frixion pen, which is washable and, it steams right out with your iron. That's my horrible handwriting and my really great art sense of proportion. I'm being sarcastic. And yeah, I backstitched it. The floor is lava. And it hangs in my craft room with all the other weird things, as well as some beautiful art by my friend Mary Lee Harris. I love having that real art, and I want to cover my whole house in it now. So I need to start thinking of ways I can barter with her again for more beautiful art. Okay, let me see. I finished some sewing. I finished my Alabama Channon A-line tunic. It went well-ish. I've worn it 2 days in a row. Not the whole day, just when I went out in public. I realized that it's too long and that I needed to shorten it. And then when I went to shorten it, I realized that I was making the seams vulnerable at the bottoms where I was going to cut them off, because you anchor them at the bottom and you do this, you wrap the jersey with some thread. I forget what they call it, but yeah, anyway. So I was going to have to sort of figure out a way to tack down now the thread that had no end. And these are felled seams, so there are 2 parts to it. So that was a bit of a lesson. Now the binding on the armholes, I did just a plain running stitch to bind them. I did not do a feather stitch. I just did that on the neckline. I did one of the, I really don't like cutting strips of that jersey because knitted fabric curls. So I was just winging the second one and I made it too wide. Anyway, but it's done and it's wearable and I need to wash it. I'm a little scared because it's hand stitched. I guess, it'll be fine. It should be fine. Lately I've been sewing. This is kind of interesting. I have so much of my wardrobe now is handmade that I do my clothes on Delicate just because. It's a little extra reassurance that seams won't come apart. So yes, so that will go in, and I think that will be, it's such a great staple wardrobe piece. And there's so many more possibilities in that book. So let's see. I also last night cut out this dress, and it's not finished, but yeah, let me tell you about this. This is a washi dress. This is the 3rd washi dress I've made. I've made many of the tunics, probably 3. And it's by there it is, the washi dress by Ray Hoekstra. It's made by Ray Company, if you see that right there. So this is recommended for woven fabrics, and I had this rayon chalice burning a hole in my stash, my fabric stash. And I don't want my fabric stash to grow a ton. I don't have room for it. So I wanted to use this, and I didn't know how this pattern would work in the rayon chalice. I've now come to think of rayon chalice as Spanish housewife cloth, because this is really popular, and believe me, I have lots of experience with Spanish amas de casa, that's the word. It's just a very popular fabric. And the print is kind of, yeah. Anyway, here it is. This is the washi dress in a rayon chalice. I did the U cutout. It's not my best. It looks better in a woven. I have not done the sleeves yet. It gets a cap sleeve, or you could just bind them and have it be a tank top. But it's, oops. Uh-oh. Hang on, that's my son's school calling. Hey, all right. So as I was saying, my son is not feeling well. I'm going to go and pick him up in a minute. As I was saying, though, it can get cap sleeves, and these are the cap sleeves. You fold them in half like that, and then sew them on like that. As you can see, the rayon chalice is very slippery, and it's hard, I've had to fiddle a lot with it. There's a lot more sitting still and fiddling and not sewing when you're using this kind of fabric. Now, it hasn't been hemmed. The seams haven't been finished, like zigzagged. And I heard Katie on Inside Number 23 say that she was going to let her dress hang for a night before she hemmed it to let it settle. And I'm new enough at sewing that stuff like that is just like witchcraft and wizardry, and I'm kind of fascinated with all this sort of lore that I'm not privy to yet. So perhaps I'll wait till tomorrow to hem it. But anyway, I think I am going to add these sleeves on because I would have to bind the armholes anyway. Although I really don't think when you cut the rayon challis, it's a woven fabric, but it's much stretchier than a typical plain weave. I think that's just because of the material. But when you cut it, that's not going to fray. It's not going anywhere. So, rayon challis, rayon challis. I have another top that I have made. Oops, it's inside out. Again, this was in my stash, and I used it as a muslin fabric because I'm not crazy about all these floral-y prints. But this is an Esme top. And this is from a book. It fits fine. I'm going to tweak the hemline a wee bit. But I heard about this book from Sarah Pomegranate at the Yarns at Yin Hu podcast, which is a very wonderful podcast. And really wasn't into it until I saw it in person at Finch Sewing Studio. This has got a lot of possibilities. It comes with all the patterns back here. And the patterns are all layered on top of each other. Let me just give you an example. So it kind of blows my mind, spatially challenged as I am. There's just for example. There are 2 sheets like that for maybe 12 patterns. So that was kind of a headache to cut out the pattern. It was a big headache, but I think it's worth it. There are pages in here that are full of styling ideas. I love it. It's got shorts. It's got this tunic. This is what I made, but I made it to be the shirt length. There's a skirt in here I want to make out of a woven fabric. It's all wovens. So lots of possibilities. A lot of cool bags. A scarf that I'm very intrigued with making. And I think I'm actually going to make the Esme top, the one I showed you. I think I'm going to use that pattern for my Liberty of London, my cotton lawn, which was very expensive, and I'm just procrastinating making it. All right, so am I done talking about sewing? Let me just show you one last thing, and then I'm going to go pick up my kiddo. Okay, so my fiber campers, a couple of them have been really knitting, and I asked permission to show a picture of one of the things. Let's see, where is it? Oh, here it is. I didn't ask permission to show Aaliyah's FO because it was on like a baby cousin. It was an adorable picture, an adorable hat. But I did ask Maria if I could show a picture of her hat. And she knit a hat out of the sock blank she dyed. And she made a pom-pom. And look at that. This is her sock blank. How fantastic. I know she's made several hats, and so has Aaliyah. And I couldn't be prouder. Yay! So, all right, so that's it for FOs. I'll do whips when I come back, and I'll see you later. Hi again. I've changed because I had to go out and pick up my sweet Babu, who is sick. And I don't know if it's just terrible allergies with the pollen that's covering everything, but he's having some breathing issues, and he doesn't have asthma that I know of, but this is not the first time he has complained of it, so I'm getting him checked out. Anyway, I picked him up a wee bit early, and he's having some lunch, and then off we go. All right, let me show you, so I'm wearing the Esme top, because it's sort of presentable, whereas the dress is not. Okay, let's talk works in progress. I have 2 to show you today. The first is, this is my vanilla sock. This is the first time I've done this fancy schmancy Susan B. Anderson thing where I do like heels and cuffs, a different color, different yarn even. I have cast on the second one. Very fancy. Jambi Smiley Needle Cozy. These are really great for putting in your out and about knitting bags. They're called Poke Me Knots, and she is on Etsy. And this is Queensland Rustic Tweed. Now, this is just fine. I mean, it says, I'm really hoping that it's knitting up really like at a fingering gauge for me, even though I think it's a DK. I think it'll be, and it's quite dense because I'm knitting it at such a tight gauge. I think it'll keep well. I think it'll wear well. It's viscose, wool, and alpaca. So yeah, this part here is West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply in the Kingfisher colorway. Very fast to knit and very fun, and I guess I'll take it to the doctor's office with me. The other, I should say, so I had to get some surprise dental work done last Monday, so a little more than a week ago. And they found more than they had originally thought they would. So old fillings that are disintegrating and causing cavities underneath them. So like 30-year-old fillings that need to be replaced. One of them was very close to the nerve, apparently, and I felt that sucker. And sort of had a, let's just call it what it is, a flight or fight response to feeling that pain. And yeah, had some panic symptoms. And, my heart rate was through the roof, and I was anxious, and every time they tried to put me back in that chair, my head would spin, and my blood pressure would go down, and I would feel faint. It was a lot of drama at the dentist. They must, have a note on my chart. I'm sure a lot of you out there have dental anxiety, which I don't typically, but I might now. Anyway, I said, let me knit for a while. I said, numb me up some more. Let me knit for a while. Oh, also, I didn't know this. The typical dental anesthetic has epinephrine in it. I did not know that. She did make a note in my chart that I was not to get that particular kind of anesthetic anymore. So, anyway. So that's, because that can provoke that kind of reaction. Anyway, I said, let me knit for a while. That calms me down. And I had my little finger pulse ox and blood and heart rate monitor. And she came back 5 minutes later and she says, wow, it does calm you down. Knitting. It's good for the medical shenanigans. And guess what? I think I'm in denial. I'm in complete denial. I think I still have issues. I think I'm going to need a root canal. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. Okay, moving along to my next work in progress, which has pretty much consumed my waking hours. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but it's gotten a lot of knitting on it, and I have it on 2 needles so I can show you. This is my Enchanted Mesa. Wait till you see Flena's Sarah's Enchanted Mesa. It is all sorts of colorful. This is not, but it is just graphically stunning, is it not? Let me show you. Holding it the right way. So I can see through the eyelets here. I don't know if you can see my eye, but I can see the computer screen. This is, it's gonna be massive, massive, massive. And it's all hand spun, breed specific farm yarns, starting with American Jacob, Clun Forest, and then you've got the Jacob at every transition. This is Alpaca BFL Silk. This is Hog Island. This is Cotswold Lamb. This is Tunis. This is Finn. And this right here is Clun Forest. And the dark charcoaly gray is the Nash Island, either 2014 or 2015 clip. Nash Island, Maine. And then down here is more of the Teasel Bat and the Hog Island. This is, so very smooth sailing until I got to the brioche, which is this. I had never done brioche before, and on my third attempt, after several rip outs, finally got in touch with Sarah and my friend Leanne, who they're both knitting this. And I said, what the heck is with these instructions? I even looked at the instructional video, and it's done in continental mostly, and it's blowing my mind, and I'm ripping it out so much, and please help. And they said they had both done brioche before, and they said we both had trouble with it and had to basically throw out the directions. We figured if you had trouble with it too as a complete newbie, then there's something really wrong. Sorry. I had trouble with it. So they pointed me to a pattern in that really explained the directions well. I was able to brioche with absolutely no problem. So yeah, I watched, there's such variation in brioche patterns. I mean, I was looking at other brioche patterns to see what I was doing wrong and to try to figure it out, and there are just so many variables from pattern to pattern and difference in terminology, and what a pain. So it was very disconcerting to me to be, I'd never done it before, to have that beginner mindset can be really difficult. To feel like it's almost insurmountable. And I was like, I can't let this get the best of me. I must brioche, even if by this time I'm hating the idea of brioching. It was very squishy, very nice. I almost wish I had changed up the colors for the right side and the wrong side, but it's fine. I completely winged the increases. I just did my own thing, as did Sarah. So our two own things are probably completely different. So now I'm on the Sassy Slips section, and oh my goodness, it's like a time warp. These rows, most of them, I'd say half of the rows take forever because they're knit one, purl one over almost 300 stitches. So after that, it's just knit, just garter stitch. I'm going to stripe my leftovers. Then I think I'm going to need some more brown for the bottom. And I'm going to have to spin some of my Rambouillet Corriedale for that. So spinning. Let's talk about spinning. Okay. So you may remember from my last episode, I made a very poor judgment call with this yarn. It is the Highland Handmade Superwash Targhee. It is the third installment of her Fiber Club. It is her On the Rocks colorway. Look at that. Look at that. Look at the marled goodness. This one is out of, look at that, you guys. It is 430 yards of a 3-ply. So that's a fingering weight. I expected it to plump up a ton, but no, I got a bona fide fingering weight. I don't know what I'm going to make. I did not expect to get such, I expected a much larger grist, which is pounds, or yards per pound. And it's just marled and lovely. Look at that. So yes, last you saw this fiber, it was barfing off of the Acreworks bobbin that I had very unwisely taken the head off. That was a super duper pain to deal with, but I dealt with it. The single was in, many pieces by the time I was done, but, really, I used the whole thing, and it's fine. I just did lots of joins as I was plying. and it came out great. Yum. So it got me thinking. Do you ever hear of people saying that they lose the end of their yarn on the bobbin, and that they try to brush it with a toothbrush or spin the wheel the other way to hopefully have it pop off? And then I've heard people say they have given up and cut their singles off the bobbin. I think that's madness, okay? I think that's utter madness, because say you're spinning a single and you lose the end. The single breaks and it winds onto the bobbin and it digs itself into the single that's already on the bobbin. What do? Well, you can look for it. If you don't find it, this is what I do. I break a single that's easily accessible. I pull it out through the orifice gently, and I put some more twist in it, and then I take up the tension. I add my unspun fiber onto it, and I just keep spinning. So no big deal. Don't ever cut your yarn off a bobbin. That's crazy. Just keep spinning. And if it happens, do it again. Now, what's going to happen when you go to ply is that eventually, I don't know, it's kind of magic, but I've rarely had problems doing this. When you do come to the end of wherever you have broken a single, if the end is not readily available, break another single and add it to your plying. When the end of that one is done, when you come to the end of that single, and it doesn't happen often, it's like magic. I said, it's not a big deal if you lose the end of your single. Just break another one and go again. Join on your fiber and spin. And in the plying, it's not a big deal either. So I just thought I'd put that out there because I had such an experience with this particular yarn. I thought maybe a sockhead hat would be quite stunning. Superwash Targhee. Could do more socks. We'll see. But very happy with that. Another spinning thing I was thinking of is how much I love my bobbin winder. I have a Shocked bobbin winder, a hand crank. I have it right next to my spinning wheel, and I think that with a good bobbin winder and some cheap storage bobbins, $10 for 12 or whatever, and they hold an ounce of fiber, I feel like you really don't, I don't see a reason to get a second wheel at this point. I may eat my words, at some point, but I don't know, you just wind off your bobbin. If you want to have several projects going, you finish a bobbin, wind it off onto a storage bobbin, put a new project on the wheel and go. Doesn't seem to be, a good reason to take up a lot of your space with tons of wheels and love your money with tons of wheels when you can just buy a bobbin winder. I think I paid $120. It was my Christmas present. And yeah, it's just invaluable. It's a really, really great tool to have if you are a spinner, especially if you want to spin big quantities of a fleece, for example. I would recommend it. So, what else did I want to say about spinning? I'm looking at my notes. #handspun shelf. I forgot to bring the prize, but it's gorgeous, 3 ounces of gorgeous fiber from Fiber Monster and a turtle-made supported spindle that Sarah donated. I say that like she's sitting right there. So yes, please put your pictures on Instagram, and that's where the contest is happening. I'm sorry if it's not accessible to you. I don't know how to make it fair or keep the drawing fair with things in multiple places. So maybe, I don't know, if you don't have access to it where you are, maybe if you go to someplace with great internet access, you could upload it while you're there. I don't know. But for now, it's on Instagram, and I love seeing the pictures of folks' handspun stash. Maybe I should have just called it handspun stash, because that's really what it is. It doesn't have to be on a shelf. But as it stands, the hashtag is handspun shelf. Okay, I do want to show you one other thing that sort of has to do with spinning. And it is getting ready. It's me getting ready, prepping, doing some learning, doing some practice for my Shackleton along, which is going to involve me sewing with my woven cloth. Now this cloth I wove into a scarf a long time ago, and I don't like the scarf. So I decided to cut it up, but here's part of it, and I sewed them together. So I have 4 pieces. So I've zigzagged the edges, and I've made yardage. This is the other one. I want to sew these into a project bag of some sort. I love that plum and the gold together. Spectacular. So yeah, I want to make it, maybe I make a purse from the Lotte Jansdotter book. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Now this fiber has a kind of a cool story. It was bits and bobs that were left on bobbins over probably a year of spinning several years ago. I had a jar. I would just ball them up and throw them in the jar. I'd seen other spinners do this, and I was quite enchanted with the idea. There's some stellina in this one. I don't know if you can see it. So what I did is I plied them all together into a 2-ply completely randomly. Got a lot of yardage, maybe like a sock's worth of yardage of these odds and ends, 2-plied, and then, plied them together, and then wove a scarf. I used a black fingering for the warp. So I feel like this doesn't want to be a scarf anymore. It wants to be a bag. So my Shackleton, which is a project that Sarah of the Fiber Trek podcast is doing, is, sort of mirrors Ernest Shackleton's Antarctic expedition. That's a hard thing to say. Ernest Shackleton's Antarctic expedition. Anyway, so I want to weave out of my hand spun, which is done. It's spun, it's dyed, it's ready to go. I want to weave fabric for a cardigan. So I thought I'll just see how sewing these woven bits goes, because that's what I'll be doing. So I put them on the machine, got my yardage ready to go. Now I just need to cut them into a pattern and go from there. Hello, Alice. Do you want to say hi? She wants to say hi. Come here. Gotta come over here. Okay, there she is. Pretty, pretty princess. Yeah, this is how little she is. She's only 14 pounds. She's a 14-pound rhino. Barging around everywhere, right? Right, Al? Surprised you're not with the boy who's having his lunch. Why aren't you out begging for lunch? All right, so I think that's all I want to talk about, except for an Ask Fibertown question. This is a good one, and let me see who asked it. Boom, 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 boom. Excuse me while I ravelry. You can just look at this beautiful face of my dog. Alrighty. We have 2 questions. Okay, Tesoro Stitchery asks, I've just joined, that's Anita. And did you see, Anita, that the spinning teacher you're going to be learning with before Marilyn, she had a little blurb in the cotton issue of Ply Magazine? She did. It was in the tip jar, I think. Anyway, I've just joined a local knitting guild and would like to start a sock, yarn / fingering swap for those of us doing projects like the Beekeeper quilt, and would like to move beyond our own leftovers. Beekeeper puffs take about 14 yards, but is there a measurement that might be better if folks are doing other scrap blankets? Well, here's what I know from my experience. My sock yarn blanket, which has not seen any action in a few weeks, I use 3 to 6 yards per square, and I cast on 31 stitches. So very small amounts of yardage. Now, so that was 3 to 6 grams. Did I say that? And then for the barn raising, I used about 15 grams, but it could be anywhere from 12 to 20. So I'm just kind of averaging it there. 15 grams seems like a good bet. If you want to be double sure, give 20, and they can use 5 grams for something else. So yeah, if you guys have other information about, yardage or weight needs for scrap blankets, please put it in the episode thread. I gotta put you down. I know you're trying to glue yourself to me. There you go. All right, go find Ollie. All right, so the other Ask Fibertown is from D Star P, who is Ravelry going to tell me? Nope. What tips would you have for a first-time attendee of the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival? What should I see? What should I expect? Is it all fiber or is there yarn too? Okay, so you are a true newbie, which is, I can't think of anything more exciting. Yes, let me answer that first question. The last question first. It is fiber, and it is yarn, and it is pottery, and it is weaving, and it is sheep, lots and lots of sheep. It is spindles, it is jewelry, it is soap, it is honey, it is brooms. Thinking what else I've bought there. It is fluffy toys. Oh, if you are a shepherd, it is shepherding equipment. It's really quite different from Rhinebeck in that it is really, I would say, about 35% shepherding. This is just a guess. And 65% fibering. Does that equal 100? Let me think. Yes, it does. Okay. So there are all sorts of sheep, and make sure you take time to go and visit the sheep. There are lots of livestock barns, there are livestock shows, people are judging lamb carcasses, they're judging fleece, they're judging live animals of all breeds. It's stupendous from a sheep point of view. There is lots of sheep shearing, there are sheep shearing demonstrations, there are fencing for different pasture situations, so it's really interesting from a shepherding point of view. So, I can't even tell you how overwhelming you are going to feel. Or overwhelmed, rather. It is overwhelming. You will probably feel overwhelmed. If you can go both days, I would say do it. I remember the first time I went, I had to leave after a few hours on Saturday. It's very crowded on Saturday. My brain just could not process all of the things I was seeing. I had no idea what to buy. There was just so much. I had no idea that all of this was out there. So quite overwhelming. As I said, there are a lot of people. That means a lot of cars, the parking lot. I get there very early. I leave the house. I'm about 50 minutes to about an hour away driving. I try to get there no later than 8:15. It's also different from Rhinebeck in that you don't pay to get in, but I always donate some funds. It's completely volunteer run, and they do an amazing job. I always buy the catalog. I'm getting verklempt and overcome just talking about it. So here is this year's. Shows you what all of the swag art is going to look like. You can buy t-shirts and bags and, yes, probably mugs as well. And this is the Bible of the festival. So typically in a year, a few weeks before, I sit down and I pore over this. The fleece, the sheep of the year, the breed of the year this year is Finn sheep. It's a lovely medium, I'm just going to say medium. It's not fine. It's not micron count wise. It's medium. And it's a really fascinating sheep. So there will be a tent down by the lower corral where you can get all sorts of information about Finn sheep. And I would say that maybe you can get this on the website too, I'm not sure. This is probably the most important, one of the most important parts of this catalog. Here it is right here. Know where you are, know where things are that you want to visit. So basically I use this page in conjunction with, where is it? It's at the back. Here it is. I use that page with the vendor index. Go through the vendor index and I mark everything that I want to see. I mark the must-sees, and I make sure I go there on Saturday morning. More vendors, and that's it. So it'll say what the vendor is and where it is. So say I want to go to, where do I want to go? Into the World. Just popped out at me. That's in the main building at B16. So I go back to the map, which I have dog-eared. And the main exhibition hall, here it is. That's where Into the World is. Now it doesn't tell you like where B16 is exactly. But usually I know they're right about here and they're on the side that faces Spinners Hill. This is Spinners Hill right here. It doesn't say that, but that's what folks call it. So you notice that if you want to go to Into the World and get a bat, because she does not generally sell them online, and festivals are where you get her bats. They're wonderful. That here is the main gate. Here's where you park. And if you get there super late, there will be a backup. There are 2 ways into the festival, 2 routes, 2 main roads. Over the years, I have found the secondary route, which is there's not a backup if you get there later, or not as much of a backup. So, as I said, I get there early enough not to worry about it and to park near up front. If you park in the weeds, literally, because the Boy Scouts are basically guiding you to a parking spot on a field, which may or may not be super well mowed. Mown. You're going to have to go from the main gate all the way down to the main exhibition hall. And I have booked it down there some years because Jenny the Potter is in the main exhibition hall. The Spanish Peacock is there, although sadly they are not going to be at the festival this year. Let's see. So basically, I make a list of the must-haves, and I will make a plan of action where I have to, so say I want to go to Hobbledehoy. They're in the lower corral. So I might go boom, boom, and then hit a barn, and maybe you want to go to the Fold and get Socks that Rock. I think that's usually barn 4. Scary how well I know that. Now I have to verify. Is it actually, I was in barn 3. I was close. So barn 3 is here. And then, I have to say, these outside north vendors, I'm usually too exhausted to get there on a Saturday. So I spend my Saturday morning shopping with purpose. Do I want to go to Fiber Optic? That's also in a barn, one of these barns up here. These are the sheep barns and the show rings. A lot of the food is here. A lot of the food is here. Don't miss the, I think probably this year I'll be going to the fleece sale, which I can never remember. I think it might be in the Farm and Garden building, which is over here. There is sort of a midway with a lot of midway type foods, and the food I believe has gotten better at Maryland Sheep and Wool over the years, but there have been years when I've taken myself a burrito and a drink. The bathroom situation has also gotten better, I feel like. My husband and I have a spot where we set up in our comfy chairs, and we use that as base. And we listen to bluegrass. I won't tell you exactly where it is, but if you can hear the bluegrass, then you're close to our spot. So that's the Saturday. Saturday afternoon, there's the auction, which is up here. Auction tent. I've never gotten there because of the podcaster meetup. And I'm going to tell you right now where the podcaster meetup is going to be. Because we found a covered space this year. I am very thrilled. I highly recommend also that you go to the Maryland Sheep and Wool Ravelry group. There's a lot of information. In fact, there's probably a thread called First Timer, What Should I Do? What Should I Bring? How should I approach the festival? I have pre-sold my Triloom just by, posting in there. If you want to sell a wheel, feel free to post it in there. If you're looking for something specific, post it in there. Okay, here it is, Podcaster Meetup 2016. We are going to be meeting up in Saturday 1 to 2 in the 4-H hall. So if you are a podcast viewer, if you are a podcaster, come to the 4-H hall. I'm going to show you where that is. Oh, it's right by the Peruvian Weavers. That'll be fun. I'm going to move this. 1 to 2 in the 4-H hall, which is right there. It's not far from the entrance, which is right there. You can also buy dye plants. Regular annuals, perennials are for sale near the entrance too, and most of them will hold them for you through the day if you want to come back and take them to the car later. So the 4-H hall is right there. So meet us there from 1 to 2. That should be excellent. You know what? That's not far from the auction tent, so if you want to do both, you might be able to. But booking it from up down here all the way here is a bit much. I hope the weather's good. It's been really great for the past 2 or 3 years, so hopefully that luck will hold for this year. Trying to think if, sheepdog trials, shearing demonstrations, highly recommend you do those. And that's what I like to do on Sunday. I like to leisurely walk the festival. I like to go through the barns when you can actually see when you can actually move your body into a stall without having to throw elbows. Don't throw elbows, but you're going to touch bodies on Saturday. There's no way around it. Especially in those barns. They can get hot and very crowded. So Sunday is more relaxed, and I just take my time. I wander with my husband and see everything I can. And sit on Spinner's Hill, watch the shearing, watch the sheep, go visit the sheep in a more leisurely fashion. Now, this year, I would like to buy a ball winder, a good ball winder. I like the look of the Strauch ball winder, but I don't like its horizontal footprint. It's got quite a base to it. I would like a vertical one. And if money were no object, I would get a Nancy's Knit Knacks, but they're wonderful. Looped has one and I love using it, but it's a lot of money. So what do you guys have ball winder wise? It's a great place to get equipment. And I I've never tried this, but I hear that at the end of the festival on Sunday, sometimes you will get good deals on equipment, heavy stuff that people don't want to take back with them, wherever they came from. Don't know if that's true, but that might be a good time to get a discount. I don't know. It's worth a try. So if you can, go both days. Enjoy it. I hope you have a wonderful time. I'm pretty sure I'll have a wonderful time. I'm going to see friends. I'm going to see new friends. I can't wait to see you all at the meetup. I'm not going to have fancy swag this year. Don't have the funds for it, which is fine. I will still have some buttons. If you want a button, just let me know. And it's a wonderful time. All right, so I think that's it. Yeah, have a great week and take care. Bye-bye.